Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful location here in our capital in Ottawa. My name is Jonathan Lai. I'm the Executive Director of Autism Alliance of Canada. I'm here to do some logistics, and I'll welcome our MCs up in 1 second. So quickly, I think it was already announced, but if you would like to follow along in French, we do have simultaneous translation available. There are headsets available. Just motion or to our tech team in the back there. They're waving to pick one up, and they'll be able to happy to do that for you. For our folks who are online, so I want to welcome you, and you can click the interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and pick the language you want to listen in on. This will be the same row of buttons where your camera and the mute button is. You can also turn on the captions if you click the More button and choose Captions. All of us in the room can kind of picture that on our screen given the world we've been living in over the last few years, but thanks for those who are joining online. And with that, I want to introduce the MCs for this morning, two of our board members, Rebecca Kinzinger and Sheetal Nakani. Come on up.
Hello. Autism Alliance of Canada acknowledges that we are currently on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back into time memorial. We recognize the Algonquins as the customary keepers and defenders of the Ottawa River watershed and its tributaries. We honor the long history of welcoming many nations to this beautiful territory and uphold and uplift the voice and values of our host nation. We acknowledge that in Canada, across Turtle Island, there are over 630 nations, communities, and 11 treaties we honor and share stewardship of the land with, along with the unceded territories in which we all live, play, and work today. Furthermore, we respect and affirm the inherent and treaty rights of all Indigenous peoples across this land. We honor and have advocated for and continue to support the self-determination and sovereignty of the Indigenous nations and people.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm just going to do some housekeeping and just provide some guiding principles on accessibility for the summit. Embrace the opportunity to take space, make space, allow yourself and others the room to express thoughts and ideas freely, fostering an environment of inclusivity and openness. Speak from your experience. Share your perspective authentically, drawing from your own encounters and insights to contribute meaningfully to discussions. What is said here stays here, and what is learned is shared widely. Respect confidentiality while also encouraging the dissemination of knowledge gained, promoting a culture of trust and collaboration. My favorite one, have fun, have some laughs. Assume good intent, approach interactions with a mindset of trust and goodwill, fostering constructive dialogue and mutual respect. Consent and learn in public. Recognize and respect individual boundaries while engaging in collective learning experiences, ensuring a safe and supportive environment for growth and development. Take care of yourself. Prioritize self-care and well-being, acknowledging the importance of maintaining personal balance. Rebecca?
Thanks, Sheeno. So we are dedicated to creating and building an inclusive space where every participant feels not only welcomed, but also empowered to actively engage with the summit's contents and activities. If you find yourself feeling uncomfortable at any point during the summit or need assistance with anything, please feel encouraged to reach out to our wonderful logistics team face-to-face. They're outside and to the right where you registered. If you ever feel overwhelmed or need to take a moment to recharge, please do make use of our sensory-friendly space, the Zen Den, located in the Laurier Room, lobby level next to the main ballroom, which is just this way to the right. Or retreat to a space where you feel comfortable. Thank you to Autism Home Base for creating this space for our attendees. We encourage participants to engage in silent clapping or waving through the duration of the summit. Opting for silent gestures instead of traditional applause will ensure a more inclusive environment for those with sensory sensitivities who may find loud noises overwhelming. Thank you. At any point during the summit, you also have the option to listen in without actively participating in discussions or networking sessions.
Welcome to Autism Alliance of Canada's 10th Annual Canadian Autism Leadership Summit. We are a coalition of autistic people, support persons, clinicians, service providers, researchers, and leaders from organizations across Canada. The Alliance and its members has been the primary driving force behind the call for a National Autism Strategy since 2007. We are on a journey to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by autistic people in Canada, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. Rebecca?
And I briefly want to talk about the significance of the 10th Annual Summit. Today marks a significant milestone as we convene for the 10th Annual Canadian Autism Leadership Summit. Over the past decade, this summit has been instrumental in fostering collaboration, driving innovation, and advancing the rights and well-beings of autistic people and their families across Canada. The themes of the 10th Summit are inform, implement, and innovate. Over the next 3 days, you will be taken on a journey to better understand, guide, and act on the current wins and challenges in developing a national autism strategy that addresses the diverse needs of autistic people and their families. We will explore ideas and promising practices that can advance our collective work. I would like to take this very important moment to acknowledge our top supporters. A special thanks to the Seneve Family Foundation for their generous support in making the live stream option available for attendees. We would also like to thank the Joyce Family Foundation, the Hamilton Health Sciences Foundation, and the Israeli Foundation for their generous contributions towards the summit. This year, we have a record number of organizations and companies supporting the summit, 24 in total. We are blown away by your support, and thank you for making the summit possible. To learn more about our supporters, we invite you to check out our exhibitors' booths during the breaks. I would like to acknowledge the audience joining us in person. What a fantastic turnout for our special anniversary. Thank you. We also warmly welcome those joining us via live stream and appreciate your participation on this important dialogue. We have with us about 250 participants from across Canada joining us in person here in Ottawa, as well as on our live stream. About 26% of our participants identify as autistic or neurodivergent. 10% are family members or support people. 32% have a professional background. And that's amazing, great.
As we look towards the announcement of a National Autism Strategy and a tabled framework later this year, which is being developed by the Public Health Agency of Canada, we can be certain that progress is being made towards our vision, a Canada where autistic people exercise their full rights and realize their full potential. Meanwhile, the conversations we spend here will strengthen our collective work to ensure that its implementation will be robust and make a difference on the ground no matter your postal code. At the Alliance, we are committed to convene people and organizations into a vast and growing network to support the actions of a National Autism Strategy. So, over the next 3 days, we want to hear your voice and in turn, strengthen our collective voice. Your participation here is invaluable to inform and guide the Alliance's work. It's great to be here in person and create space to make new connections and deepen existing ones. We hope that you do.
Next, we are honored to welcome the Honourable Mark Holland, Minister of Health. The Honourable Mark Holland is a lifelong resident of the Ajax-Pickering area and was first elected as the Member of Parliament in Ajax in 2004. As a Member of Parliament, Minister Holland has served many roles, including as the Leader of the Government in the House of Commons and as Chief Government Whip. He has been a staunch advocate of marriage equality rights and played a key role in helping to reform Canada's animal cruelty laws. In both public and private roles, Minister Holland has backed health-related initiatives, serving as the Executive Director of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada's Ontario Mission, as well as the National Director of Children and Youth. As a Minister of Health, Minister Holland has worked to sign a bilateral healthcare funding agreements with provinces and territories to improve healthcare across the country. He launched the Canadian Dental Care Plan and will help up to 9 million Canadians get essential dental care they need, and recently has introduced pharmacare legislation that will provide universal access to contraception and diabetes medications. The Honourable Mark Holland.
Merci beaucoup. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous pour un jour vraiment important pour notre système de santé et d'améliorer notre action pour beaucoup de personnes partout au pays. I want to start by really thanking the Autism Alliance of Canada, its board and its members for the extraordinary work that they do. This is on the road to a National Autism Strategy. The critical input and advice that's given that come through forums like this. And I also want to recognize all of the autistic people and their families and the support workers and clinicians and researchers and organizations that have come here today. I know that we had an opportunity deep before we began to talk about how frustrating it's been. That for decades, people living with autism and their families have felt unheard, have felt that their concerns and their ability to see what could be better and what could be changed was falling on deaf ears. And that experience has been profoundly frustrating. So I want to acknowledge that at the onset. And so I want to come up a little bit high before I come and talk directly to that frustration. It often is the challenge of our system that we have different jurisdictions. And so people will say, well, that's not mine, that's provincial, or that's federal, or you got to go talk to your MPP, or you got to talk to your MP, and you feel like a ping pong ball being bounced between these places. And in the shadows of that, no action is occurring. And it feels like that is nothing but excuses. So when I was fortunate enough, the Prime Minister asked me to take on this role some 8 months ago. I said with our team that we've got to approach this very differently. That our health system is one system, and that when somebody says something isn't working, then we have to take collective responsibility. That me saying to you that that's another jurisdiction doesn't get us anywhere. And so we started by saying we had this $200 billion that is dedicated for improving our health system, and let's acknowledge we have a health system that's in crisis. It was decades in building. Basically, we have a system that was designed in the 1960s and doesn't work in a contemporary context. And it has to keep delivering services, and yet we all know it has to transform. So money is not enough. but we have major health workforce issues. And so meeting with provinces and territories in the first order, saying we've got to deal with the crisis in primary care. People have to have access to a doctor. We have to have enough doctors and nurses and personal support care workers throughout our system. We have to take care of the issues that we're seeing in long-term care facilities. And that's why we were able to sign 26 agreements with every province, every territory, to be able to give a detailed action plan of how we're going to address and tackle those issues. And then at the same time, we have to be talking about interoperability and data and connection and system transformation. And so these are the conversations I'm having with provinces and territories. And I can tell you as a health minister, I don't say, well, medicine, that's a provincial responsibility. No, we passed legislation and said that we have to be the ones that lead with a national framework. You remember we had a national framework on diabetes. And what did that lead to? That led to one of the first classes of drugs being diabetes drugs. So that means that cost will not be an issue for anybody with diabetes in this country. That's absolutely essential. For somebody who has diabetes to be able to have access to the medication they need to be healthy is essential. So why does this matter to you? Well, of course, we all care about people with diabetes, but they're proof points. There are all kinds of people who will tell you what can't be done. Say, it can't be done because of this, can't be done because of that, can't be done because of jurisdiction, or because it's too much money, or it's this, or it's that. But as we do these things, what do we demonstrate? Well, I'll tell you with universal contraceptives, what BC did, and it allowed us to be able to do it nationally, they're going to spend they spent $25 million for universal contraceptive in BC. There's an estimated savings in the first year alone of $27 million. And I think autism is no different. Being there for autistic, for people who have autism and for their families can have an extraordinarily powerful impact on their well-being, on their health outcomes. That's not just a matter of social justice and fairness, it's a matter of prevention. And I would actually say it's a matter of cost reduction. So the framework that we're working on and the strategy is so critical to get right. Chelsea in my office was our policy lead, who was absolutely extraordinary. She has such a deep passion for this issue. And I'm looking at Fatima because Fatima is now filling Chelsea's shoes, and Fatima is filled with that same passion and care. And so I want to let you know that for me, the work that we're doing to create the strategy and the framework and the approach is a first step, but that we're proving with dental care, with pharmacare, with the agreements that we signed. There were people who said you can never sign an agreement with Alberta. They're never going to get to the table. You're never going to sign an agreement with Quebec. We got these agreements done. And I think the reason is, and we're in a special moment, COVID was really, really hard for everybody. But I know for people who have those extra challenges of challenge of having autism or having somebody in your family that has autism, that challenge was so much harder. And it was so much harder for our healthcare workers. And the good news about seeing that kind of stress is it gives us a greater imperative to act. And it shows us that if we don't act when times are good, that when times are tough, they're nearly impossible. And we can't let people go through those things again. So I want to say that the year ago when we passed the legislation on the framework for autism in Canada, it was to develop a federal framework that we're getting close, and we want to make it right. And when we announce it, we want to be wind in your sails to get that implementation right. Because as was said, it is absolutely essential that everybody in this country be able to live and exist in this country to their absolute full potential. Alongside this work, the Public Health Agency of Canada, as has been mentioned, is developing a National Autism Strategy to complement the framework. And I just want to say, and you will know, that the National Autism Strategy is built around the 5 pillars. I don't think they're here. I don't think I need to mention them because I think you all know them intimately. I just want to say how much I care, that I really want to be, when we're talking, to be able to say, if it's provincial, then let me go talk to my counterparts. As an example, we've got a meeting of my counterparts of all the health ministers that's coming up in a few weeks to talk about, okay, we've got 26 agreements, we're getting really good progress, we've got to work now on health data, we've got to work on, obviously, pharmacare, but we got to have a conversation about what we're doing about autism, right? And about how that framework is going to live and how we're going to support each other. So it's going to be iterative. I'm not going to hold out that it's going to be perfect overnight. There's going to be bumps in the road. We're going to disappoint you sometimes. But I think together we can make the progress to get this done. And every year we should be able to be talking about that material progress that we've made together. And I'll end on this note because, you know, oftentimes I say I'm an incrementalist. And people say, well, that doesn't sound very exciting to me. I'm frustrated and I want you to do things. Like, I'm sick of incrementalism. My family really needs help. But the reality is we only change through progressive incremental action. So I say I'm a radical incrementalist because maybe that sounds a little better. But we have to move forward as fast as we possibly can. We have to make change in your life, in our health system, as fast as we possibly can. Because if we make positive, good change everywhere in our health system all at once, there is nothing more powerful in human conception than compound interest. One good thing building on the other, building on the other. Because everything that we improve everywhere in our health system helps every other part of our health system, and it gives us collective hope. Because there are people who say despair, give up, it's broken, walk away. We cannot walk away from this public health care system. We have to make it serve to its full potential. We know we have one of the best health care systems in the world, but you are all too intimately familiar with the ways in which it fails. And we cannot allow the way in which it fails to destroy the things that are good. Instead, we must use the power of incremental progress to take us to the full potential of our health system so that our country in itself, in its productivity, in its health outcomes, and in the type of country and how we hold our head when we talk about our country and the outcomes and the quality of outcomes that are, and the quality of opportunity as people is there. So it's about acknowledging the hard things, but refusing to stop dreaming and taking the hard actions every single day to move things forward. And with you, I look forward to doing that. I thank you for your staunch advocacy, for the work that you do every day, for the hope you hold in your heart, and I acknowledge how much pain you've had to face from not being seen. And that's something I hope an inch or two today you feel a little bit less. Thank you so much.